The Jedi. The good guys, right? The heroes and the defenders of the public. There's a darker side to these peacekeepers and how they ascend up the ranks of the Jedi Order. The first stage, younglings or Jedi initiates. Inside the boundaries of the Republic, shortly after birth, an infant is identified by testing its blood for the midichlorian count. If the child had a high count, they were determined to be force sensitive and brought to the Jedi Order. Now, what if the parents didn't want to give up their child? Too bad. In the Republic, the Jedi had the authority to take custody of a force sensitive child. Some masters even argued that just the very presence of the force inside the child indicates the child's consent to join the order, even before the child has the ability to speak. Yeah, that's not terrible at all, but hey, they're the good guys, right? They were taken to the Jedi Temple where they were raised and taught how to use the Force and how to harness its power on a very basic level. They would eventually be placed into groups of 15 or 20 other younglings called clans where they would study and live together. They would then participate with their clans in an ancient ritual called the Gathering in order to harvest kyber crystals to create their own unique lightsabers. They then learned basic lightsaber combat forms. They also studied the Jedi history and of course, their dogmatic philosophy. No emotion, only peace. No passion, no attachments, and well, no fun to be honest, but don't worry, it gets worse. When they are near the end of their adolescence, they were forced to fight each other. They would participate in tournaments in front of Jedi Knights and Masters to showcase their skills in both the use of the Force and lightsaber combat. The length of time that someone's a youngling depends entirely on the species. Humans were generally younglings until they were 10 or 12 years old. But as we saw with Grogu, he was a youngling still at 50 years old, due to his species having a lifespan of over 900 years. Now the second level of the Jedi Order is the Apprentice or Padawan. After this gladiator-style tournament, they are chosen by a Jedi Knight or a Jedi Master to be his or her designated apprentice. They are then given a braid to wear as a symbol of their rank. What happens to the younglings that aren't chosen? Well, I'm glad you asked. They have two choices. They can either join part of the Jedi Order called the Jedi Service Corps. They can go into various fields of that where they work and help citizens of the Republic. The other choice is to be kicked out of the Jedi Order and return home. You know, to the parents that gave them away. So far, you were kidnapped as a baby, brainwashed, forced to fight other children like gladiators, and if none of the Jedi Masters chose you as an apprentice, you had to be a farmer on some crappy planet, or go clean toilets in the temple, or go back to a home where it's gonna probably be a rather awkward reunion. Honestly, this would make me want to turn to the dark side and force choke somebody. Anyway, back to the story of the good guys. During the Clone Wars, newly knighted Jedi would receive Padawans, and Padawans were quickly put out into the battlefield. So that was your reward for getting chosen by a Jedi during the Clone Wars? You get to go fight in a war. Just perfect. This is why we see in the Clone Wars series Anakin, a newly crowned Jedi Knight, gets Ahsoka Tano as his apprentice. There are also times we get special exceptions like Obi-Wan taking on Anakin as a Jedi Knight right after Qui-Gon died. Now the amount of time they remained a Padawan to a Jedi could be just a few years or up to a decade depending on the performance and the achievements of the Padawan. During the Clone Wars, this process was sped up as well. There was also a rule that there could only be one apprentice for each Jedi. It was forbidden to have two. In order for a Padawan to graduate to the rank of Jedi Knight, they had to pass something called the Jedi Trials. They had to show proficiency in all forms of lightsaber combat, courage during a dangerous mission, overcome some kind of great physical pain, hardship, or loss. Does being kidnapped and brainwashed count? And overcome deep-seated fears and inner demons. Sometimes no trials were needed at all. Obi-Wan was granted the rank of Jedi Knight after his duel with Darth Maul on Naboo. Cut a Sith in half, bam, knighthood. Or if you're a moisture farmer on Tatooine and your last name is Skywalker, and all the other Jedi are dead, you're pretty much free to call yourself a Jedi Knight because there's no one gonna stop you. Doesn't matter if Obi-Wan trained you for a few days and Yoda only for a few weeks. What happens if a Padawan doesn't pass his trials, you ask? They get a little wiggle room here. They can retake the trials, or they can show some significant act of heroism or bravery in battle. If they continue to fail, eventually they would be sent to the good old Jedi Service Corps and serve either in the Medical Corps, the Exploration Corps, the Academic Corps at the library, or even worse, the Agri-Corps. Ugh. So what exactly are the duties of Jedi Knights? In times of peace, they would travel the galaxies, settling disputes and keeping the peace. Mostly political and economic conflicts, but also someone like Quinlan Voss would go undercover deep into criminal underworlds to root out illegal activities. During times of war, well, them and their Padawans were soldiers. They spent their days cutting droids and Sith Lords in half, which, if I'm being honest, that actually sounds pretty sweet. Most Jedi Knights stayed Jedi Knights for the rest of their lives. Only a small percentage of them made the rank of Master. And guess what? Anakin Skywalker was not one of them.
What?
What does it take to become a Jedi Master? A Jedi Knight had to train multiple Padawans into Jedi Knighthood or show exemplary leadership and diplomacy through their career. There are a few different positions within the rank of Master, like serving on one of the 4 Jedi Councils, teaching younglings at the Temple, but only a Grand Master can grant a Jedi to the rank of Master, or by default, if there's nobody else around. The final rank is Jedi Grand Master. This is the leader of the Jedi Order. This is granted to only the wisest and most powerful Master. This position is only awarded by a unanimous decision in the Jedi High Council, or of course, by default because there's no other Jedi around. With each rank you get promoted in the Order, you get more access to the Jedi archives and are able to gain more knowledge in the Force. This is one of many reasons Anakin wanted to be granted the rank of Jedi Master so badly. Now, one of my favorite parts of the Jedi ranks, well, just after the kidnapping and brainwashing, but right before you start to do the gladiator fights, is how the younglings build their own lightsabers. Click here to see how that happens, and may the Force be with you.